Good morning, everybody. This is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and I'm here today to share with you some card ideas that I came up with using the explosion board that I've been playing with. I have had a lot of ideas with this, and I'm going to have several tutorials here coming up real soon. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of ideas. You know, these kinds of things have been around a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of show you you know, what I kind of played with. We have some holidays coming up. We have St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July. I just decided to create some cards and show you what I did. So I came up with 3 different kinds that I'll share with you. So one is a heart or a shamrock card that will explode out. One is a trifold, and then one is a stacked squash card. So I just wanted to share with you what those are, and we'll go through real quickly how to make them. They're really super simple. Let's go ahead and start with the trifold, because that is probably the easiest one to make. So this is basically a 4x6 trifold card. I used some papers that I had from a design team kit from Country Craft Creations, and I had leftovers, so I decided to go ahead and use those to make this card. I used artisan cardstock in red and in the kind of the denim blue, and some seam binding from Country Craft Creations. It just has a simple tie closure, and wow, I tied it pretty tight, didn't I? And when you open it up, well, I should start to say on the top is a cut apart that I just cut down and backed with cardstock. So it's pretty simple. This can be a card. It can also be like a little mini photo album too. So I kind of designed it that way. So when you open it up, there's this panel where you could put a picture in, a photo, and it has little photo corners in it so that, let me see if I can get a piece of paper so you can stick your picture right in there. Excuse me, that was my envelope there. Here's another cut apart that I just cut down. And then when you open it up, another cut apart, and then I put a piece of white cardstock in here so you could write your sentiment in there. So this would be a really cute little card. This would be a really cute little photo holder you can send to like grandma if they're out of state. You can do a little 4th of July or any holiday really, and put a photo in there and a nice little sentiment, and it's really cute. So it's super, super simple. All you need to do is get a 6x12 piece of cardstock. This is my spare piece of cardstock here. And simply just, if I can find my bone folder, I set it out and now I can't find it. Stick it in your scoreboard and score on the XXL line, and then turn it, and then again score on the XXL line, and that gives you your trifold shape. And then you just simply have to fold it and burnish it and then decorate to your heart's content. If you want to do a ribbon closure, put the ribbon either underneath the element on the front like I did here, and under the pattern paper here on the back. You can tie it closed. You don't have to tie it closed if you don't want to. You don't have to have a closure on this. But super cute card, super fun, easy idea, and it will work obviously for any holiday. Now I did make, like, here's a practice envelope here, and then I made another one. So this is made out of cardstock here, and this one here is made out of 32-pound printer paper. And I used my envelope punch board from We Are Memory Keepers to make this. So this envelope, if you cut a piece of paper that's 8 3/8 by 8 3/8, and then you punch and score at the 3.5 inch mark, you will get this envelope, okay, which fits perfectly with this card. Now, obviously, if you're going to put a lot of decorations on it and kind of make it more of an album card, then you're going to need to make a box envelope. But for just average sending or giving it to someone, a regular envelope is fine. So again, all you need to make this trifold card is a 6x12 piece of paper, and you score it on the XXL line on each side. And then for the envelope, use your envelope punch board and use a piece of paper that's 8 3/8 by 8 3/8 and score it at 3.5, and do that whole process with your envelope punch board, and then you'll have the perfect little envelope for your project. So that's the super simple one. That's the trifold card. Really, really easy to do. So next one I'm going to show you are the heart or shamrock cards that I created. And these are really, really, again, super, super simple to make. I'm going to show you. I used a tie closure on these, but again, you don't really need to if you don't want to. I just felt like it. So for a Valentine's Day card, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit late on this, but super simple, super cute to make. When you open it up, it opens up with all these hearts. So I thought it was really, really, really cute and a fun card to make. So you can use up little 6x6 pads of your paper, which is exactly what I did here, and then put a little card here for writing your sentiment. And when you close it, then it will be completely covered up, so you can see the background paper too. And I did just put plain cardstock on the back. But this is a really cute little card to make. And then for the inside, let me tell you the measurement for this little piece here that I put for the sentiment is, let's see, 2 3/8 by 2 3/8. So just a little tiny little thing, but that's all you really need. I did not put pattern paper on these hearts because they wouldn't be showing, but you certainly could if you wanted to. And then this was a cut apart that I just put on there as the front sentiment. So I thought it was really super cute. Then the Shamrock card that I made, so St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Used some St. Patrick's Day paper that I had in my stash and this cute little kind of 3D sticker thing that I had. Some seam binding from Country Craft Creations, and I did use some green artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations to do some double matting on the hearts here. And when you open this guy up, looky there, Happy St. Patrick's Day. And again, I did this little square to kind of cover, or put the sentiment on, and just plain on the back. So really super cute little card, really fun. Kids would love this, I think. Now I'll show you that on this one here, I kind of did a corner to corner with the seam binding here, and I don't really like the way it wrapped around the corners. On this one here, I did it across the bottom, and I like that a whole lot better, but you can do it either way you want. You don't even have to do that. So let's go through how to make those really quick. It's really super simple. So the first thing you'll need is an 8x8 piece of cardstock, and you're gonna put it in your scoreboard, and you're gonna score it in a couple places. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put it in your scoreboard here, and you're gonna score it on the XXL line, and then you're gonna turn it, and you're going to score it again on the XXL line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need to do diagonals only on 2 sides to make the squash card. So I always turn it over because that's the way the scores are going to go. And score the diagonal down to that XXL line, and then turn it around and make sure you got the opposite square here, and then you score it again at the XXL line. Okay, so super simple to do. Again, it's an 8x8 piece of cardstock, and you're going to score the template, you're going to score on the XXL line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your heart template, and I'm going to just grab these off here really quick, and you're going to need your XXL heart and your XL heart. So your extra, extra large heart and your XL heart. So once you get done scoring, you're going to take your heart, the XXL, and you're going to put it, line it up, the point in the corner, and then line up the point of the heart here with your diagonal score line here, and draw your heart shape around, and then just do that for 3 of the panels. You leave 1 completely whole, okay? So then just draw your heart shapes, all right, using the XXL template. And then when you do that, once you get done with that, and you're going to cut those out, you're going to end up with a piece that's going to look like this. All right, so super simple so far. All right, so you have your little heart-shaped or shamrock-shaped card, and then we're going to just fold on the score lines. Okay, so we'll just do that. The diagonals will fold inside opposite. So you'll turn that over and do that. All right, and then when it folds up, it will fold down into your shape. And then you just do a little more burnishing on it, and you will have your card shape. All right, so then in order to make the cutouts for the hearts so you can cover it with patterned paper, this is where you're going to want your extra large heart. So this is a little smaller than what we cut out, but you're going to take this and you're going to put it on your paper and you're going to trace it out, and that's what's going to mat your hearts. So for the inside heart where you have the score, you're just simply going to trace out this extra large heart, and then you're just going to slice it down the middle, and then that'll give you your two halves to cover the hearts that are scored and fold. That's it. If you want to double mat, use your extra large for your cardstock and then layer that with the next smallest one, which will be the large, and then that'll give you the double matted heart that you'll need if you want to do a double matting. Okay, that's it. Super simple to do. The other thing that I came up with, on these cards, I just put a little square of like 2 3/8 by 2 3/8 paper to write your sentiment on. But then I thought, well, what if you want to write a little something more? So take a piece of, an extra piece of cardstock, and I cut it as a booklet. And then what you can do is glue it down so that it'll be like this. When you open your card, you could put your pattern paper on here and then open it up, and then you have a large place for a nice message. Simple, easy peasy. I didn't do a model for this, but I figured I could show you this. This square, the white square here, measures 4 by 4, so I just cut this at 3 7/8 by, let me see, get my measurements right, by 7 3/4. So 3 7/8 by 7 3/4, and then I just simply scored it at 3 7/8 to create the card shape. And then I put it in just like this, and then it'll have kind of this extra little opening if you put it down, and it'll open like that. And this would be a kind of a cute place. You could put like a little gift card in here if you wanted to. So like if you had a little gift card, you could create a little pocket here, put a little gift card. It would be really, really super cute little thing. So that is my heart and shamrock card that I wanted to share with you how to make. Super easy, super simple. These are 4 by 4 cards. So on your envelope punch board, if we look at the measurements here, you can make a custom envelope for it. And so for, let's see, a 4 by 4 card, you would need a 7 by 7 inch piece of paper. You'd punch it and score it at 3 1/2. So super simple to make an envelope for that particular card. Okay, so that is that card. And then last but not least, this one's really, really cute. I like this one. Okay, so this is my stacked exploding squash card or smash card, however you want to call it. I've heard it called both, and I've kind of used it interchangeably. This one is really pretty fun to make. So it is almost more like a book than it is a card. I had extra papers from a birthday collection that I did, so I just decided to make a birthday card out of it, but it turned out really, really cute, and it's really, really easy. So in order to keep it closed, which generally you don't need to do if you don't want to, but I thought it added a nice element, I made a belly band to go with it, and I just used a cut apart from that piece of paper. But here's the fun part for this card. So it's stacked smash cards. So the first page opens up, second page opens up, third page opens up. It's like a book, but they're graduated pages, and they explode as you open them up. And then on the back page here, you can have your sentiment. You also have another big spot here. You could put a little pocket for a gift card again. So really, really cute to do, really, really easy. But you can see the graduated page styles, all right? Super, super simple, super simple. So all you need to do is make your squash cards, and you're going to make them in the 4 biggest sizes. So you're going to make one for extra, extra large, one for extra large, one for large, and one for medium. That's all you're going to do. And you're going to do it just like we did. You're going to do them just like we did with the heart card, okay? But you'll have graduated sizes. So for the biggest size, you will need an 8x8 piece of cardstock, okay, just like this, and you'll put it in there, score it on the extra large, and do your diagonals in the opposite areas. For the next size, you will need a 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. For the next size, which would be the large, you'll need a 6 5/8 by 6 5/8. And then the smallest one that I did, since I did 4 levels, was a medium size, and that's 6 by 6. And I was thinking for a card, getting any smaller than that would probably be not okay. You could do this with 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter, but I stopped at the medium because I thought that was plenty small enough. And I just thought it turned out really, really cute. And then once you fold them, then you put your pattern paper on. Now, I put pattern paper on the tops of all of them, but on the backs, for every one except for the bottom one, I left blank because obviously you're going to just glue it down. So just cover it with all the pattern paper. Take your, for the measurements for covering the squares. So like for example, this top one here is 3 by 3. So the actual white cardstock square is 3 by 3. So I cut the pattern paper at 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 to cover. And then for the diagonals, for the squares that I did, so what you'll need to do is cut these, instead of cutting them at 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. Is that what I said the first time? So 3 inch, cut it at 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 to cover with pattern paper. And then you're going to cut triangles for here. You're going to cut a square at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then slice it down the middle, and you'll have one piece for each side. So you'll need 2, like for example, this star paper, you'll need 1 square that's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, slice it down the diagonal, and then you have your piece for each side, and then do it again for this one. So that's how I covered the triangles here. I didn't cover the triangles on the outsides because those are going to be folded inside. You can if you want, but I didn't, and the other reason I didn't is because of bulk. This card is already pretty thick, so I didn't want to add any more bulk. Kind of squished, it's an inch, or a 1/2 inch, excuse me. So it does, you know, it gets a little thick, but it's really, really fun. So I hope that all makes sense. I will write all these measurements down in the description so that you have a little list kind of explaining this, but it's really kind of easy to figure out. Watch my first video and I go through how to use this board and how to actually, you know, make these particular cards. And then of course we already did it today too. So this is the same thing. It's just we're going to stack them together, which is kind of cool. And then to make the belly band, this isn't to scale, and I wrote that down there, so when you guys look at this, don't panic, it's not to scale. But I just wanted to write this out. So to make the belly band that fit this, I did a piece of cardstock that was 1 1/2 by 10 1/8. And then I scored at 5/8, 4 3/4, 5 3/8, and 9 1/2. And then that will give you, since the card is about a 1/2 inch, I gave a little 1/8 of an inch space. So you'll have 5/8 inch wide sides, and then 4 1/8, so it'll go over the card really nice. The card itself is 4 inches wide. So when you do that, you'll end up with a piece that looks like this, and then you just simply glue the 2 ends together and you'll get your belly band, and then you can, you know, decorate it as you want. And that's how you can close it. Now, the other thing too, I thought, was, so what do you do if you want to make, you know, some sort of an envelope or something to, you know, put this in? So what I did was I thought, well, you know, the last video I did making gift boxes, I made a pizza box. Now I know that this isn't birthday paper, but it'll show you the example, the pizza box that I made in my last video, and I will put a link down below, will fit this card absolutely perfectly with lots of room still left over, so you could put some embellishments on the belly band if you wanted to. And then you have a really cute little gift to give with this card. So This is my pizza box that I made. I will put the link down below. And then inside is my stacked exploding squash card, smash card, however you want to call it. So that's what I wanted to show with you today. This is a really kind of quick and dirty tutorial on how to do these cards. But I think that these cards turned out really, really super cute. And I think my grandkids are going to love the St. Patrick's Day cards. Because, I mean, you know, not very many people give out St. Patrick's Day presents and stuff, and I just think it would be fun to do. So, and I'm sorry it's late for Valentine's Day. You know, but life, you know, life, work and life. So these are the cards. Again, we went through the Trifold card here, super simple, 6x12 piece of paper, and then you just score it on the extra, extra large line, create your trifold, and there you go. Really, really easy to make and fun to do, and I can't tie the bow. And I use scraps on all of these cards, actually. I use, you know, scraps and stuff from my stash, so really easy to put these together. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this made sense. Again, I will link the videos and have descriptions down in below of all the measurements and things that I did. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again real soon with another tutorial for you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. This is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and I'm here today to share with you a project that I did that was actually a request by one of my viewers, Colleen B. She had watched one of my tutorials and asked me how to make a box for a 5x7 card with an acetate lid. And so I figured it out, and I'm here today to share with you how I did it. But then I also, because you guys know how I am, I came up with more sizes and a couple different heights of the boxes and all that stuff. So we're going to go through how to make some boxes to put your cards in. So I will be right back in just a second, and we'll go through what we're going to do. So here is the box that I created. And again, this was because a viewer, Colleen B, asked me how to make one of these using my scoreboard. So I got some birthday paper out that I had as extras and my explosion board, and I decided to start playing with it. So I made this box that will house a 5x7 card, and the box itself measures a little bit. I always do that too, you guys know that. It measures from the top about 7 5/8 by 5 5/8, and the bottom is 7 1/2 by 5 1/2. And has an acetate window so you can see right through it. So my thinking in designing this was I used the scoreboard exclusively for it with, you know, of course, cutting the papers. And this box here is perfectly sized so that if you had a really fancy card that you wanted to really embellish like crazy, you totally could put your card inside. And I just did a little bit of embellishing, but you could really go to town and make this as thick as you wanted to. So I just created this nice little 5x7 card that fits perfectly in the box, and then also it fits in an envelope as well. Oh, look at that, I got it upside down. So I decorated the inside and the outside of the box. This box would be a great little keepsake for someone. But it also will house the cards. Now, if you didn't have cards that were embellished a lot, you could make several of them and give this as a gift to someone. You know, if you're doing like a card swap or something like that, this would fit several cards and it would fit the envelopes perfectly. So I created this. This was what was requested, and so I created this. We're going to go over how to make this, but we're also going to go over how to make some more, because I went a little bit crazy, because then I was thinking, okay, so what if I really wanted to do a card swap and I wanted to make a whole bunch of cards, I mean like a ton of cards. This one here is 1 1/8 inch deep. What if I wanted to make one that was 2 inches deep? So I created a box that was 2 inches deep, and it will hold the 5x7 cards just perfectly. So I did that. Then what I did was, okay, but not everybody wants 5x7 cards. So let's talk about 5 1/2 by 4 1/2 cards, which is kind of a standard card size for a lot of people. That's my favorite card size to make when I'm making cards. So I created a box that will hold, you know, 4.5 by 5 1/4 cards. So then this one again is 1 1/8 inch deep. I figured out a box that's 2 inches deep so that you could make a whole bunch of cards and put it in there. Okay, so you could actually add more cards to that. So I did that. And then I thought, well, I have been playing with my squash cards and my heart cards. Let me get one out here and show you. So I decided that I needed to have a box that was for 4 by 4s. So I made one that was, again, 1 1/8 inch deep, and then one that's 2 inches deep. So you could actually, you know, put in several of them. So this is great for, like, these will hold cards really well, but they'll also be like really cute little gift boxes too. Well, then I went a little bit more crazy and I decided, well, what if I wanted to make some sort of a gift box that would hold like a double set, because I've been playing with dividers too. So I created this box here that has a divider inside so that you could put several cards as a gift inside. So we're going to go over the basics of how to make the boxes. I'm going to give you all of the measurements, and I'm also going to write those all down in the description, so you'll have those. You can go ahead and print those off, and I'll show you how to make this cute little divider to stick inside. And we won't go over decorating a box today, but we will go over how to create the boxes, and then we're going to go over how to create the acetate window. I'm also going to link the very first video that I did showing how to make boxes, and you can go over that as well for just the basics on how to use this board to make boxes, okay? But let's concentrate today on making this acetate lid and, you know, actually the box. So I'm going to go over, let's go over a few things first real quick. Now, again, this will all be in the description, so don't panic too much. So the boxes that have the 1 1/8 inch side, so the lid size, or depth, I should say, is the same as the box depth. I'm calling flush boxes, okay? And the tall boxes have the 2 inch sides. So this one would be considered a tall box. That's what I'm calling it, okay? Has a 2 inch side. So let me make this look a little bit less busy right now. So flush, again, the lid and the box sides are the same height, so they're 1 1/8 inch. The tall ones, the lid size is 1 1/8. The box size is 2 inches, okay? The boxes are designed to be a 1/2 inch bigger than the cards, which also helps fit the envelopes, okay? So that's why they are bigger. So for a flush box for 5 by 7 cards, you're gonna need a cardstock piece that's 7 3/4 by 9 3/4, and you'll score it on the lid, okay? When I say score it on the lid, what I mean is you put the paper after you cut it in your scoreboard and you score it here on the lid line on all 4 sides, okay? Just like you would make any other lid. The only difference in it is the measurements of the paper that you're using, okay? So then the lid size is 7 7/8 by 9 7/8, and you're going to score that also on the lid. That's going to give you the flush side. They'll be the same height. Okay, so far so good? So, for example, here is a piece of cardstock that I did for the lid for a 5 by 7 flush box. It's 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. So you're going to put this in your paper, in your scoreboard, and you're going to score on the lid, turn, score on the lid, and so on all 4 sides. Every single box that you're going to do, you're going to score on all 4 sides. Super easy. Lids and the boxes are all made the same. Okay, so then if we move down for the tall box, you'll notice that all of the lids stay the same. They're exactly the same measurements, and they're all scored at the same place on the lid, but the box is what's different. The box size for a tall box would be 11.5 by 9.5, and you score that on your extra small score line. So if you look at your board, the lid line here is the first one. Your extra, extra small one is the next one. That's the one you're going to use because that is 2 inches to that line. Okay, those are the only 2 score lines you're going to use to make all of these boxes. So again, for the tall 5x7 box, 11.5 by 9.5. And the lid size is the same, 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. Okay, so on. Let's move down. So the flush box here for a 5.5 by 4 1/4 card. The box cardstock size is 8 1/4 by 7, scored on the lid. The lid size is 8 3/8 by 7 1/8, scored on the lid. Okay, and so on. I won't go through all of these because I'm going to have all of this written down in the description so you can print those off. I'll leave this on here if you want to take a screenshot or something like that. But I have all of the sizes for 5x7 cards, flush and tall, for 5.5 by 4 1/4 for flush and tall, and for the 4x4 for your flush and your tall boxes. Okay, so those are the cardstock sizes. Now, I'm going to turn this page, and we're going to talk about the double box. Okay, the double box, again, you can do a flush or you can do a tall. And I did do the divider for the tall box. I did not do it for the flush box. Okay, so I want that disclaimer in there right now. Okay, but I'll tell you how to do it in just a second. So for this, what this does is it gives you 2 compartments that are 4.5 by 4.5 if you do the divider. If you don't do the divider, then you're going to have a 9 by 4.5 box, which is fine. You could use that for that new slimline card that they've got out now. It might be a little bit wide, but the slimline cards should fit in there too, I believe. Don't quote me. I'll make sure about that. Okay, so for the flush box, you will need a piece of cardstock that's 11 1/4 by 6 3/4. For the lid, 11 3/8 by 6 7/8. And again, the lids are all the same for this particular size boxes. And in the tall box, you need a 13-inch by an 8.5-inch piece. Now you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. My cardstock is only 12 inches wide. So if you cut 2 different pieces, and I'll show you how to do that and attach them together, you will get a 13 by 8.5-inch piece. Okay, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so again, this is all in the description, so you can do that. All right, and then the last thing I will show you the directions on, and then we'll go through it again, is the divider piece. So you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock for the divider for this double box. You'll need 1 piece that's 4.5 by 8, and that piece will be scored on the 8-inch side at 4.5, 6 1/4, and then you have a piece of cardstock that's 6 1/4 by 4.5. You're going to score that on the 6 1/4 at 1 3/4. I will show you that. Okay. So let me, actually, while we're on this, let's just do this one, and then we'll go back to the lid. Okay, sorry about the confusion. Okay, so when you look at your box, 13 by 8.5, you need 2 pieces of paper that's 8.5 by 11, and you need a piece of paper that's 8.5 by 2.5. So when you get your 8.5 by 11, because this is going to be for the tall box, we're going to put this in your scoreboard, and you're going to score on the 2 long and 1 short. And I'm just going to turn it so I got the score lines right. And you're going to score it on the extra, extra small, on a long and a short, okay, on the extra, extra small side, or score side, and then another one here, okay? Don't score this side here, because we're going to attach something to that. This piece here is the 8.5 by 2.5, and what I did was I put it in the scoreboard, and I scored it on the long side, and of course I cut some of it off already, but forgive me on that. And then score it here, and then here. Okay, so what you're going to end up with is a tab, because we're going to cut this out, miter the corners just a little bit, and then we're going to use this and we're going to attach it to, let me get this out of the way. We're going to attach it to this one here. And then that's going to give us our 13-inch wide piece of paper. This is also, because it's a tall box, the reason I did it this way is because this is a 2-inch side. So I wanted to kind of keep the side without, you know, a seam in the middle of it. So that is why I did the 2 inches, and I added this extra 1/2 inch here to make the tab. And then that's going to attach it. And then we're going to have our tabs for making our box like all ready to go. So if you take your glue, and we're going to add some glue here to our tab. Get this out of the way. I always like throw it on my desk and then it gets in my way. And then I'm just going to turn it over so I can see it actually. Make sure you glue it to the side that's not scored, the short side that's not scored. Put it right up to the score line here. Okay, and then glue it down. All right, and then, so now you have your 13 by 8.5 inch piece. And then all we're gonna have to do is do some trimming. These are already kind of tabs, so we're just gonna angle those a little bit. And this is gonna create our box, okay? And then this is a real good representation of how to make the boxes, because when you are creating your boxes, they're all gonna be scored the same. You just need to make tabs to make the sides, okay? So then I'm just gonna cut straight up this side, and then I'm gonna make a tab out of that outer square, okay? Miter that, cut straight up this side. I'm gonna move it so I can see it. All right, straight up the score, so the sides are gonna be straight, and our little squares in the corners will be mitered, okay? So you can kind of see that. Let me get that out of the way. All right, so then just fold and burnish, okay? Lids and boxes all made the same. All right, if you're gonna cover with pattern paper, which, you know, I know you're going to, cover the outside first, all over, and then cover, so on the outside, cover your sides and cover your bottom. All right, the bigger the box, the more you're gonna wanna cover the bottom, because that'll help give stability to the box. And then turn it over. On the inside, cover the inside only. After we create our sides, then you will want to cover the sides of your boxes with your pattern paper, okay? So then you just take your glue and put your glue on your tabs here and glue your sides together, all right? And that creates your box. All right, easy peasy. Easy peasy. All the boxes, all the lids made exactly the same way. Since this is a model, I'm not doing a very good job with the gluing, but that's okay. You guys get the idea. Okay? You're going to want to do a really nice job and be real careful and everything with your project, because, you know, like I said, this is my demo project, and I'm using lots of scrap paper, and this white doesn't even match because I use scraps to do it. So there you go. All right, so there you go. So there you have your box. Then what we're going to do, we're going to make our divider. Let me find my other piece here. So for the divider here, we're going to need one piece that's 4.5 by 8. And this is where you're going to need your regular scoreboard. So you're going to have to get your regular scoreboard out, and you're going to score on a couple places. So you're going to score at 4.5 and at 6 1/4. Okay. Then you're going to take your second piece, which is 6 1/4 by 4.5. All right. And of course, I made this a little difficult here. You could put it in here and just score it at 4.5 and be done with it. Okay. Or if you put it in the other way, you can score it at 1 3/4, because, you know. So there you go. So you should have two, like 4.5 squares, and then you should have a piece that's 1 3/4 on this one. Okay, like that. And on this one, you should have a piece that we're going to zigzag fold it. Okay. on the scores, and you will end up with a piece that is like that. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to glue those together. I tried to make this, I'm trying to make this as easy as absolutely possible. All right, and then you're just going to glue it together. Okay. So that you will end up with a piece that looks like that. Okay, pretty simple. Then what I did was, at this point, before you, you know, you can go ahead and cover it with pattern paper. All right, and then when you're ready to assemble, you can just put this in, glue the 2 1 3/4 pieces down. I hope I'm making sense. I feel like I'm babbling, but I've had a lot of coffee. And I've been up since 4 in the morning, so you know, there's that. All right, so then you have your piece. This is a real nice sturdy divider, and then this should fit in your box perfectly. Now, I designed it so that it will fit side by side. It is not smaller at all, okay? So the reason I did that is because if you are going to do this and you want to make it more permanent, you can just glue it down to the bottom of your box, okay? And that's it. You're done. Now you have 2 compartments. If you made a whole bunch of these cute little cards that you wanted to give to somebody as a gift, you have a nice little box to do it with. And then if you didn't want to glue it down, then the recipient could take it out and use this box for another thing. They could keep it in there however they want to do it. But that's the divider for that. Okay, I hope that made sense. So there's that. So now let's get to the lid, because this is really easy to do. This is really easy to do, and I will show you a couple little tricks that I did. Okay, so we are going to be making a flush lid with acetate, with an acetate window. So we're going to be making, where did my box go? We're going to be making this. So we're going to have an acetate window cut into the box. So we're doing the flush lid, which they're all pretty much flush lids. They're all the same. And we're going to have a piece of paper that's 7 7/8 by 9 7/8. We're going to score on the lid. Okay. So I've got my paper, and I showed you this before. So you put it in your scoreboard. You score it on the lid on all 4 sides. Okay. Using that lid line. That gives you a depth of 1 1/8 inch. Which is really kind of cool when you're covering the sides of your lid, because you just need 1 inch strips, which is a nice stash buster, you know, to use. Okay, so once you do that, then we're going to turn this over. I'm going to show you a little trick. To get our frame here, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over, and we're going to score on all of our lines, which I've already done. And then when you do that, when you score it down, then you're going to take your pencil and you're going to draw a line down the edge. So you'll have 1 1/8 here, and then you'll have 1 1/8 here. That's going to be the border around your box. Okay, so do that on all 4 sides. Fold and burnish, draw your line, and then you have this piece right here that we're going to cut out. Okay, simple. I just used my handy dandy ruler and a craft knife, okay, and then just went and cut that square out. That's all I did. So when you do that, and then you miter all of your squares in the corners for your tabs to create the lid, you're going to end up with a piece that will look like this. Okay, so this is the inside. You can see where my pencil marks are, okay. I just simply, again, folded them down to draw the lines, and then I cut the inside out, okay? So you have 1 1/8 for the sides of your box. You have 1 1/8 for the frame around it. The whole lid here measures 7 5/8 by 5 5/8, okay? So this is where we're at right now. So then we need to make our piece of acetate. And I cut my acetate at, I believe, 7 1/2. I want to double check, make sure. Yep, 7.5 by 5.5. Okay, so you'll need a piece of acetate that's like that. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 7.5 by 5.5. So then you need to cut the mat for the frame that's going to go around the box, because we're going to want to make that pretty, right? And so there you have that. So what I ended up doing, and this is like the easiest thing in the world to do, is I found that if I cut a strip of paper that was 15/16 of an inch wide, this worked and it made it like absolutely perfect. So what I did was I just took and used my paper cutter and cut just a 1/16 of an inch shy of an inch, okay? And then I used this as a marker. And I grabbed my scoreboard and put my patterned paper here and grab my pencil. And then I'm going to use this again as a measurement, okay? And I'm going to just put it in here. I'm going to make sure that this is all flush. I didn't do it by sight on the table because I wanted to make sure that it was nice and even, okay? So I'm just going to, and this is on the wrong side, obviously, and use your pencil so that you can erase it, all right? And we're going to draw our lines on all 4 sides, okay? Okay, that's all we're going to do. Get rid of this, and then I'm going to put my little cheater piece to the side, and I'm going to grab my knife and my ruler, and then I'm just going to cut this out, okay? Try not to go beyond the lines. You're just going to cut that inner square out. I'm trying to line this up really nice and straight. Okay, so now I have my frame, and this, if we put it down here, should mat this really, really nicely. Now, I'll tell you, you're probably thinking, why didn't I just do an inch? And I'll tell you, if you have any kind of variation in your cutting, when I did the inch, you could really see that I was off on one side, okay? This actually kind of camouflages the fact that I might have been a little bit off on my cutting, you know, because it is kind of almost freehand. So I found that the 15/16 of an inch worked perfectly to do this, okay? So now you have your 2 pieces. You have your piece for the outside, and then you have your piece like for the inside. So for the inside piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to grab some score tape, and I'm going to put score tape around the edges, on the inner edges here. Keep it in camera, sorry about that. And you can do the outer edges too if you want. Make sure it's really super secure. And then what you're going to do is you're going to very carefully lay this on your acetate, and I'm doing this really fast. My dogs are in the living room. They're talking at me or snoring or something. I'm not sure what they're doing. They're watching Twilight Zone, though. Or at least they were. All right, so then what I'm going to do is grab my acetate here, and I'm going to line this up. They're both cut the same, so it should line up pretty perfectly. If it doesn't, you can always trim it. Okay. Okay. Okay, so just like that. And then we're going to just simply put some score tape on this and glue it to the inside of our lid. Okay, now do this before you make the actual sides of the lid. It really does help if you can keep that lid flat while you're putting pattern paper and things like that on it. Okay, so this is easy peasy way to create an acetate lid. So then just take these off. Okay, so then we have our paper for the outside. I didn't glue that down yet. That's okay. On the inside, and then we're just going to center this nicely right there. Okay, and then you're done. There you go. There's your acetate lid. So then when you put your frame on the outside, you'll have this beautiful, beautiful see-through acetate lid that will show your card off really, really well. And then, so once you're done with that, cover the sides of the outside, okay? Make your lid, all right? Do all your corners, and then you will end up with your acetate lid for your card box, okay? I hope that makes sense. So that's how you do it. So Colleen, I hope this helped. Thank you so much for the suggestion. If y'all have suggestions of things you want me to try to figure out, let me know, because if I can do it, I will definitely try and do it. But that is how we make our card boxes. Again, I will have all of the descriptions, or excuse me, all of the measurements in the description for how to do this. And all the different sizes that we made. So again, the tall, which is 2 inches deep. We have the, what I'm calling flush, so they're 1 1/8 inch deep. The lid and the box have both the same depth. And you will have all the different sizes. So the 5x7s, the 5.5 by 4 1/4, the 4x4, and you will have the double box for the 4x4 cards. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know, and have a really super awesome day. Stay crafty, stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.